Obi,
Hello.
yeah, I am on YouTube now. Good evening. You're still in Abuja.
I'm in Kaduna.
Oh, you went from Abuja to Kaduna.
Yeah.
Angie, thank you for joining. Thank you.
Enjoy.
Okay, so we are live on YouTube. People will come in there as they arrive. We keep talking. It's a pleasure, actually. We are expecting that people should be joining as we are speaking. Hello? Okay. If you're on YouTube, if you're on Instagram, we welcome you today. This is 12 minutes past 12, past 9. So our topic today, of course, is going to be recorded. People can always go back and look at it. Our topic today is actually a case of, okay, a lot of people want to just say it's a natural thing, it's normal. Every child would once in a while chew objects or chew things that are not food or that do not have any nutritional value. But maybe because of the population I work with, for those who may not know me very well, who might have stumbled on the link, my name is Ijoma Ugu. On Instagram, I am the Ace Autism Nutritionist. As a nutritionist, as a food scientist, I have channeled my energy into supporting individuals with neurodevelopmental delays like autism, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, all their brothers and sisters. Because aside a child having this named diagnosis, childhood is a time of growth and development. And we all know that food lays the foundation for growth and development. In fact, food is growth, food is development. So, knowing how important food is to the life of everyone, I am putting all my energy and, you know, very comfortable, confident in what I do, because I know that every individual, whether you have neurodevelopmental delay or you don't, you will one way or the other benefit from good nutrition. So in the line of that, we are exploring what we call PICA today. First of all, we would like to look at different, it's a kind of eating disorder. It's a kind of disorder, but we will look at different types of eating disorders. Most times, people tend to hear a bit about some of them, and most times people just think some of these people are just being seeking for attention. But I tell you, they are real problems, problems disturbing real people. So eating disorders come in different forms. One of them is anorexia nervosa. In anorexia nervosa, if you are as you are speaking, if you hear or want to say anything, I have live chat. If you want to say anything, you can say it. We can actually be answering your questions as we are talking. So anorexia nervosa is a kind of eating disorder that a lot of young people tend to get into because they are so afraid of gaining weight. And we usually see this a lot in young girls that want to be models. They are so afraid of gaining weight that they would eat, and even if they feel they have overeaten, they will go and make themselves to vomit such food. It's a form of eating disorder. Don't just think they are something is controlling them or they are just seeking for attention. It's a real problem in the world of human nutrition. And then there is also bulimia nervosa. Bulimia nervosa is like, it happens mostly to people who have a form of depression, because there's tendency that humans would want to derive comfort from eating. So such people would go and consume like a lot of food. They will eat and eat to the level of binging, and then they would force themselves to vomit it. Now look at the difference. The first one is afraid of eating. The second one is actually conscious that he or she is eating it, but he or she will still, force oneself to go and vomit such food. It's a form of eating disorder. And then there is also the binge eating. The binge eating happens a lot when people are so engrossed in things like movies, and also emotional downtime. When people recently are bereaved or divorced or heartbroken, these are some of the situations that could make someone go into binge eating. Or even when someone is being bullied, it happens a lot to people who are a lot on the bigger side. So as soon as they get bullied for their weight, the next thing they would want to do is just to find solace in food. And they would go eating and eating to the extent of it being an eating disorder. Now, the last one is PICA, which is what we are discussing today. On a very big general definition, PICA is simply when a child, or surprisingly adults, begin to eat things that are not nutritional and that are just not food. Or even when they seem to be food, they are non-nutritional. I have parents who have called me and approached me that their children are eating non-food objects. Once again, I could say it's prevalent in the population I work with. I know children who would continue eating tissue paper. They will eat up tissue paper in their household, that the house will be, hiding the tissue papers. I know children who would eat things like mattresses. I know children who would go to the extent of peeling paints from the wall. I know children who are just eating plastics. They are eating. Some of them also eat even metallic objects. These are the most common things that are eaten by this group of people. But there are also a group of people that like to eat sand. A lot of people just want to be eating sand. A lot of people also want to be eating clay. A lot of people want to be eating paper, not tissue paper this time, but real paper. So when you look at all of this, it points to a particular situation which we now describe as PICA. I would like to tell you a story. Well, not a story, but just an experience. That while I was having my thesis on human nutrition, I was in the field gathering data, and I spoke to one of the parents. One of the data I was collecting is the cost of catering for a child living with autism in Nigeria. So normally we would collect how much their food costs, how much medication they buy. Some parents will tell you how much they spend on transportation to and from hospital. You know, a lot of costs that go into all of this. But one parent asked me a question: which cost do you want me to give? Is it the cost of the food he's eating, or the cost of the non-food things he is eating? In fact, I broke down myself because I cannot imagine that on top of all of this cost, someone is still incurring extra cost. So this woman says that the son has gone as far as breaking the television to remove the plastic, the plastic part of the television to chew, because they were practically keeping everything out of his sight. So the son went as far as breaking television to pick the plastic on the television to chew. So it was that bad. A lot of people may not know how bad it is, because if you have not been with this community, you may think it's just a simple thing that happens in babies. No, it is not. So we are here talking about PICA because PICA is a huge problem in our society. Well, maybe not a very visible problem in our society, but it's a huge problem for a certain population in our society. And by the end of this evening, you will also realize that it is not just those people, it affects other people whom we may not be taking note of before now. So we are looking at what is the prevalence of PICA. Let us know how many people are actually affected by this condition. So we look at what I have here is that children between 0 to 6 months, we have 10 to 30% prevalence. So children between 0 to 6 months, they are prone to putting things in their mouths. That one is different. But other group of people that are having very high prevalence are women that are pregnant. When we were younger, we thought it was a normal thing that a pregnant woman should be chewing clay. There is a clay in Igbo, they call it unzo, that pregnant women will just buy and be chewing. It was supposed to be a good thing. I mean, elderly women encourage it, saying that it makes the baby strong. It's such a good thing. Well, while I was sharing the banner for this live video, a professional colleague pointed my attention to this fact where women will be chewing and then they say it's good for the child. We are going to come back to that, what it does and what it may not do. But talking about prevalence, we also see about 10% of people that are above 12 years of age are still suffering from this eating disorder, which is PICA. This 12%, well, it may not seem like a big deal, but when you see a family that is affected, it's usually a big deal. And more importantly, when you see the effect it can have on individuals, it becomes a big deal. We've had cases of people, putting sand in plates like as if it's food. Like they are addicted to that. They are highly addicted to just eating the sand. So individuals that have it, um, sorry to say this, I've heard in religious testimonies where people are so relieved that they have been cured of addiction to eating non-food objects. Some people actually go as far as pulling their hair to eat. Some people go even as far as biting their skin. So PICA is a very serious condition, and a lot of people who suffer from it are either helpless or are just assuming that they have to live with this for the rest of their life. But after this program, you will realize that it's not something you have to live with. It has a medical and nutritional undertone, which, with good support and intervention, people can actually come out of this. So, we will look at the next part we are looking at is what are the things that cause this condition. The most important factor in this condition is usually mental conditions. The people I work with are basically children with neurodevelopmental delays. So many of these children do not have the concept of safety. They tend to just go about putting things in their mouth. But what exactly is making them eat such things? Let me just say that at this point, we are not just talking about children with neurodevelopmental delay. We are talking about people who actually have PICA as an eating condition. But I'm going to just use these children as an example, being that these are people I see and I work with. So the number one culprit of this is nutritional deficiency. There are basically two nutrients that when they are missing in a child's or anybody's body, there is this tendency to go on and eat non-food objects. As strange as it might sound, it is actually the truth. So when somebody is low on micronutrients such as iron and zinc, these two micronutrients, when there is deficiency of these two micronutrients, a child will have the tendency to continue chewing non-food objects. These are just one. Another very disturbing one, which is what is even pushing me to go ahead and do this, is when there is heavy metal toxicity. A lot of people are walking around with heavy metal toxicity, but they are not even aware of it. So when a child is very toxic with heavy metal, especially lead, when a child has very high level of lead toxicity, such a child would tend to eat things that contain lead. And those are the children that would go and be peeling off paints from the wall, because many of the paints that are on the wall actually contain lead. So when you have a baby or even a child, I know a child that was 12 that was still chewing these things. If you have anyone going through this, don't just sit down and begin to think, yeah, it's one of those things, or you keep beating them, or you keep taking away these things. Like I said, in the awareness, there is help, and it can actually, such a person can be supported. Welcome, Kathy's Foodstuffs. So such a person can be supported. We personally, we as an organization, Brain Foods, we've helped a lot of individuals. We start by running medical tests. These medical tests will identify all the heavy metals that are in your system. With these tests, we would normally realize that children that eat non-food objects are either heavily intoxicated with lead, there is aluminium, there is cadmium, there is mercury. These are the four very dangerous heavy metals that many of these children are usually intoxicated with. So when we run this medical test, we will realize that many of these people who are having this eating condition are having heavy metal toxicity, and there are ways to support them. There's so many ways you could use. You could use supplementation, which you have to do under the guidance of a medical health professional. There is supplementation which is targeting a process known as chelation. This chelation is a process whereby some certain compounds are introduced in the body to help to pull out the heavy metals. So these heavy metals will bind to the body. Let me say why it is important to follow the guidance of a medical professional, because many of these chelation agents have what we call half-life. I am stressing this because a lot of parents in my shoes, okay, in my circle, they tend to just hear things and they just want to go and do it. If they hear that this is good, this is said by somebody that is reliable, they just want to go and do it. Please don't go home and do this. I am teaching this so that you know that there is help. So when such chelating agents are put inside the body, they have what we call half-life. And this half-life means that at that half-life, the strength of that agent has reduced. So assuming there is a heavy metal somewhere around the throat, for instance, and you put a chelating agent into a child, and then the chelating agent carries the heavy metal somewhere around the heart, and then it reaches its half-life. When it has reached its half-life, you are supposed to put another one that will begin to carry the heavy metal again. Is like a relay race. You are supposed to put another one that will pull the heavy metal from the one that is getting tired and continue the journey to take it outside of the body. So if you do not have knowledge of this, you would tend to just put a chelating agent. You don't know the half-life. You don't even know the dose. In most cases, the doses are made using the weight of the child. You measure it per kg, per body weight, per micrograms per body weight. So these are the things you need to work. You have to work. These are the reasons you must work with a healthcare professional if you are going the route of chelation. So for children who are having heavy metal toxicity, chelation is one, can I say, extreme method. Another method you could use is what we call Epsom salt bath. Epsom salt bath is a kind of bath that I remember a lot of people. I doubt if I could offer any lecture without mentioning Epsom salt bath. So Epsom salt bath is a very simple process but also a delicate one. It is delicate because what we call Epsom salt is um magnesium sulfate. So this magnesium sulfate has a nature. We say that it is vasodilatory. It opens up the pores of the skin when it is functioning. So by opening up the pores of the skin, you are invariably increasing the diameter of your blood vessels. So when the diameter of the blood vessels are increased, the blood flow will also increase. That means the blood pressure will decrease. So you will have lower blood pressure. So in that case, it is important that you know where you stand before you enter into any Epsom salt bath. If you are prone to low blood pressure, please don't do Epsom salt bath. If you are not prone to blood pressure, you have to test the waters first. You cannot do more than a teaspoon of Epsom salt bath when you are just starting out. So it is when you've done a tablespoon in a bath, you will know if you will faint, or if you will get dizzy, or if you can cope with it. Then you can increase. But no matter how well you take it, you must not exceed a cup of the Epsom salt bath. So Epsom salt bath is a form of detoxification protocol that can remove toxins, including heavy metals. So using Epsom salt bath, one can support children who are having PICA as a challenge. We have discussed two. We have talked about chelation. We have talked about Epsom salt bath. Another one is sauna bath. I don't know if I am saying the word right, but sauna bath is a kind of bath. It's not like you pour water on your body. It's somewhere you just go sit in a chamber, kind of, where the temperature will be high, such that you sweat profusely. You really sweat so that toxins can leave your body through the pores of your skin. So using sauna bath, regularly, let's say twice a week, you can support a child who is having heavy metal toxicity. So these three approaches are the most common approaches that people use to support children with heavy metal toxicity. So now we have looked at eating disorders. We have chosen to talk about PICA. We have identified the prevalence of PICA in the population. We have looked at causes, and one of the causes we have said is heavy metal toxicity. And taking heavy metal toxicity, we have discussed some of the approaches that one can use to support a child with heavy metal toxicity. So the next cause can be a sensory seeking, you know, behavior. Good evening, Mrs. Faith. Thank you for joining. So in sensory seeking, this same research, don't get tired of me talking about my research. This same research, I realized that I have I have two major causes of feeding challenges in children with neurodevelopmental delay. One is a sensory issue, one is sensory issue, and the other one is motor challenges. Sensory challenges being that they will not eat what they don't feel comfortable with. Some of them, when you give them food, they will perceive the food first before they know whether they will eat it or not. Some of them, when you give them food, like I spoke on the other one, some of them, when you give them food, they just eat the crispy part and they will not eat the softer part. Some of them, they just want to eat only things that are crispy. That's why some parents say their children are just eating only chips. They just want to eat chips. Or if you give them maybe cereals, they just want to chew it raw without pouring milk. It's a sensory challenge. And then we also have the motor challenge. Under motor challenge, we see children who cannot use their limbs or any part of their body. That's different. So when we come under children who are sensory seeking, a lot of them eat things that they feel aligned with their sensory seeking behavior. Like if a child is chewing plastic, for instance, it's as if they just want to eat something that is hard and not chewable, something that they will continue nibbling on. Yeah, that's the word I was looking at. Something they just want to continue nibbling on. The thing will not finish, the thing will not dissipate, the thing will not give way. They just want to continue nibbling on it. That is more like a sensory seeking behavior. Some of them want to chew on things that they just hear the sound when they are chewing it. It's that sound actually that they just want to continue hearing. So in such cases, we still have issues with nutritional deficiencies, and we may still have issues with heavy metal toxicity. So in such situations, you have to find out what might be causing the sensory situation in the child. Is it about the nutritional deficiency or is it about the heavy metal toxicity? So when a child is having a sensory seeking behavior towards non-food objects, it might also be as a result of those other two conditions. Then a more general situation is children who have developmental disorders. This is when we talk about autism, intellectual disability, attention deficit hyperactivity, Down syndrome. I usually don't want to be putting ADHD, cerebral palsy here, because not every child with cerebral palsy actually have a mental health challenge. So it's only when a child with cerebral palsy has a comorbidity that is affecting their neurological, their mental health, that you can actually, put them together with this group of people. You can message us. I am reading live chat, so you can continue to message us if you have questions as we speak. So children with such developmental disorders are prone to having these challenges, being that they have no concept of safety. They have no concept of what is edible and what is not. They have no concept of this is what is good for my health or what is not good for my health. So such individuals is is um is one group that you might have to go an extra mile to support them. And we are going to come to other stage where we will talk about how to support such children. And then there is also a group of people that is a bit disturbing. It's disturbing because their behavior is based on cultural and social belief. How do I mean? I mean that there are some cultures that would request that people of certain um group should consume things that are actually not nutritional, that are not food. And this is quite risky because in most cases what is consumed are usually things that are very harmful to the body. For instance, when I was talking about people who believe that pregnant women should actually be chewing the clay, nzo. Yeah, it's a very common belief in Igbo land before now. I don't know if people still practice it, but it was a very common belief that people will even buy it as a gift to pregnant women because they believe that it makes the child stronger. There's some little bit truth in it, but the dangers actually outweigh the benefit. I know a lot of people who were chewing it religiously, thinking that they are doing themselves a lot of good. So in this case, all it needs is a change of, a change of belief, or a change of behavior, where the people are made to understand the dangers in what they are practicing. So what now we have looked at what are the causes and how they can actually affect people. Now we will look at what are the ways that these people can be supported. Somehow I have exhausted how to support a child with heavy metal toxicity who is um eating non-food objects. But in other words, there is also other ways that children can be supported. There is what we call behavioral therapies. Behavioral therapists, I don't know if there's anyone here who is a therapist. The therapists, for those who may not know, are people who support children to realign their behavior, not just behavioral therapists. They realign their behaviors, they realign their concepts, they realign their development to be at par with neurotypical children of their age. There are speech therapists, there are behavioral therapists, there are therapists that are just occupational therapists. So all of these therapists have different functions they perform for the children. So mostly the behavioral therapists can come in for children who are having PICA as a major problem. So when these behavioral therapists are working with such children, they tend to make them understand what behaviors that are acceptable and what behaviors that are not acceptable. I'm sure that some people on this platform, they know and they understand the duties of a behavioral therapist and their effects on children. So looking at this is just one. Another one, like I have hinted before, is carrying out an extensive medical check. There is a medical check we call Nutri-Eval. Nutri-Eval is nutritional evaluation. Using nutritional evaluation, you can identify the foods or the micronutrients or the nutrients that you or your ward is deficient in. It's not just restricted to children with neurodevelopmental delays. Anybody can do a nutri-eval. With a nutri-eval, people can identify if they are actually deficient in some of these nutrients that actually cause them to crave for non-food objects. Please let me tell you, it may not have, it is not a peculiar thing to pregnant women to crave for these things. So even if you are pregnant and you are craving for things that are dangerous for your child, it might be advisable that you carry out this nutritional evaluation, because even these are two major micronutrients that are essential for a child's growth and development. So if eventually you find out that you are deficient in them, I mean, you will be doing yourself and the baby a whole lot of good. So in essence, we are saying, whether you think it is pregnancy craving or you know that you might be having a deficiency, it is always good to have that medical evaluation carried out to know what and what you might have to do to support yourself, support your child, or support your ward who might be chewing non-food objects. So in essence, having a nutritional evaluation is one step forward towards supporting people that are suffering from PICA. So with a nutritional evaluation, you can start supplementing on the deficient micronutrients. Thank you, people that are joining now. We will have the record. We will have the record. And if I am admitting people for on live, so if you have questions to ask, I'll be very happy to answer, so that I won't just be here talking like broken record. I am accepting people. Welcome. I'm accepting people on Instagram. If you're on YouTube, I'm afraid we cannot accept live, but you can write your questions on the screen. So we have more or less exhausted a lot of things. If you are just joining, you are going to find the recording on our YouTube channel. And I will use this opportunity to encourage you, if you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, please do so, because we have a lot of things. We already have a video talking about heavy metal toxicity, what it can do, and what it can, in fact, things you may not ever have imagined that it can do. And all of them are captured in that video. Please try and watch it. You will know that not everything you see around that seems so wonderful is actually wonderful. Mrs. Ayobami had requested that we discuss heavy metal as a topic as it relates to our cooking utensils. But I have made a video on that a while ago. YouTube does not like repetition, but I'll try and see if there is a way we can also discuss it. Heavy metal is a very serious issue. Like now we have seen it, we have seen the hand of heavy metal in PICA. Children that eat non-food objects, they have a lot of tendency to be heavy metal toxic. So listen to that video on heavy metal on our YouTube channel, and then on our subsequent live streams, you can ask your question, or ask your question on our um Telegram page, or anywhere, any platform at all. You can lay hand on me, ask me question. I will be more than glad to answer you. So when we have children or adults who are having PICA as a challenge, they can undergo a lot of problems. They could go into depression, they could go into isolation. People can begin to isolate them. You can imagine if your child is at school and all the time the teacher is like, remove that from your mouth, Do not eat that. Every time being called out, it can actually push an individual into a bad state of mental health. So let's not just see these things as physical as they are, like this is just a challenge, this child is just doing this. No, they usually have a deeper problem than just what we see as we see them. So we are more or less exhausting what we need to say on PICA as an eating disorder. We have looked at other eating disorders and we have identified PICA as one major eating disorder. And then using this as a point of discussion, we have seen how it affects people, what and what that can cause it. We have seen that nutritional deficiency is a major cause. We have seen that heavy metal toxicity is another cause, and we have looked at different ways that you can support the body that has heavy metal toxicity to restore itself. I wouldn't want to go into the effects of heavy metal again, like I said, because I have made a video on that. But it's something that is worth watching, it's something that is worth knowing. The effect can be devastating. When you see people go to hospital and they say, we don't even know what is wrong, but the body is breaking down. A lot of times it has to do with heavy metal. When you see a child that is neurologically impaired and then you are doing everything possible to support the child and nothing much is showing, heavy metal could be a culprit, because aside from its own functions, it aids other things that can be jeopardizing the health of a child. It supports the survival of microbes. And when these microbes are finding solace in the heavy metals, if microbes are continually in the body of a child, it leads to malnourishment too, because whatever the child is eating, the child is sharing it with the microbes. So a lot of, lots and lots. There is also the tendency to create leaky guts. And we know that with leaky guts, the condition can go into allergy, which can go into autoimmunity. So heavy metals is something that people must not joke with. And we have also seen another head of it, like just like octopus, it has different heads. So another head of it is this PICA. So if your child or anyone you know is suffering from this condition, PICA, it is advisable that you begin by assessing the nutritional status of the child to know the micronutrients that the person is deficient in. And then it is also good to assess the heavy metal toxicity status of the person to know if they have, like, if they are toxic. You should also seek the help of a healthcare professional to help the person to come out of it. I would like to hear from you. Those of you on Instagram, I think you can chat. And then those on YouTube, you can chat. If you need to say something, you can just request for to join the live. Wow, it's been a good evening for us. The PICA as a topic may not be very common, but this is more like an awareness. You may see a child, you may see even adults, but what is different is that some adults, when they want to eat non-food objects, they go and hide. They will do it out of sight. So it's usually a struggle. You see a lot of people are actually struggling, and just because they are not saying it out, it's not something that people will just wake up and say, let them go to hospital and check. No, a lot of people will not do that. So because of this, it is not kind of recorded that this is a condition that people are actually suffering from. But I'm telling you today that it's a very, very serious situation, which we have learned today could be rooted in other things. Thank you, Vivian. Thank you so much. It could be rooted in other things. Yeah.
So, is it possible that someone has this disorder without knowing? I know
Yes.
some recent a lady that toilet tissue as snacks,
Mm-hmm.
and she goes on toilet tissue anywhere at home, in the office. She just keeps going on with toilet tissue. She says it's so crunchy. She's enjoying it. It sounds like this PICA disorder without knowing it.
Yes.
Is it possible one without knowing?
Like I said now, a lot of people have it. But because it's not, people don't even know that it exists. A lot of people don't know what it is. So they will just be like, I have this strange addiction. I just want to be eating this. I just want to be eating this. But they don't realize that it is a condition. It is a condition, and people can be helped. It has a solution. Such people can be supported. There are, as you can see now, there are several ways that such people can be supported. But a lot of people have it and they don't know it. They do not know that they have it. So such a lady, what is crunchy about tissue paper? I'm not trying to
I
make
don't know.
light of her situation, but if you see now, you realize there is nothing crunchy about tissue paper. But she finds it crunchy. It's a PICA, is an eating disorder known as PICA. And then you realize now from today, you can see that if she meets the right person that can support her, she can actually be supported.
Yeah. Thank you
Ezi
so much.
wine, thank you, welcome. Yeah, sorry, someone is chatting me on YouTube. Thank you for your question, really, because a lot of people have this condition, but they are not even aware that it is a problem. Like that lady, I'm sure she doesn't see it. She just feels it's crunchy. Like she doesn't see it as something to, some people may not even see the need to see a doctor.
Mm.
They may not even see the need to see a doctor. It's only when you, so I heard a lady that says she just likes drinking fuel. She just get
Mm.
fuel and be drinking it. Another lady was addicted to eating her hair. Another lady was, these are adults, like parents to children, like mothers. So it's a condition and it is treatable. It can be managed, it can be treated, and it can be rooted in things you may not be aware of. It can be rooted in nutritional deficiency. It can be rooted in heavy metal toxicity. It can also be rooted in a sensory seeking behavior. So if we know these things and know how to identify them, I think the problem is almost half solved.
Thank you so much. Even me, I never knew there was a disorder like this.
Yeah, it's a
Thank you.
disorder. I appreciate your coming, and I appreciate your question, because it's through questions that we learn. Thank
Thank
you.
you very much. It was quite.
Thank you. So if there is anyone who might want to go through this, it's on our YouTube channel. I'm going to put it there, and people can easily go there and go through this again, because I kind of gave what I have. And then, so that people won't just come and say, okay, because I get a lot of calls actually. People knowing what I do will call me and say, my child is eating this, my child is eating that. I get a lot of calls, and it's mostly the calls that inform my topics. because my topics, if you look at my topics, they are not like very popular topics that people would want to fill the room and listen. No, but my my target has always been to support the unsupported. A lot of people would want to support people who want to watch weight, people who want to maybe diabetes, and no, but there are this group of people whom are basically not recognized to be needing a medical attention. Meanwhile, their condition will actually do better if there were people who understood them better. So that is why I work with people who otherwise would not even find that support. So I like to work with maybe very unpopular set of people, but it gives me joy to know that even if it's one person, even if it's two people that were able to benefit from what I do, it goes a long way to make a lot of people happy. Because we know that a child living with neurodevelopmental delay could mean a whole family being in a lot of pains, because each time this child is behaving in a way that is not neurotypical, it causes a lot of pain to everyone around him or her. So this is our principle, that we always look out for those people who otherwise would not get help. So we are looking out for people who have eating disorders. A lot of people are concerned about those that have the binging and the eating and vomiting, the avoiding food. But we are looking at people who will eat and even eat things that they should not eat. So I'm always available to offer that support and look at, okay, should I call them underprivileged? Not underprivileged, but people who otherwise would not get help. It's my outlook that I will always be able to support people who would otherwise not get the help they need. So if you're on this live session, our YouTube channel is Brain Food for Gods. Our Instagram page is Brain Food for Gods. Of course, you must have seen it for you to be here. Our TikTok is Brain Food for Gods. Our Facebook is Brain Food for Gods. We support children with neurodevelopmental delays. We support, yeah, please, Anosi, you can watch it later on the YouTube. Thank you. So we support children with neurodevelopmental delays. We make meal plans, but our meal plans is not just come and just pack food and say eat this one morning, afternoon, night. No, we work from the root. We excavate the house and clean out the foundation before we begin to build gradually. When we work with families, we work as a team. We work together and we build the child up to the extent that the body should be able to support itself to get restoration. So at Brain Foods, we are always seeking out those that feel that they don't have help. We are the help of the helpless. If you are a Catholic, we are St. Jude of medical help. So I really appreciate your joining me today. Thank you. Thank you, Esther. Thank you, Ewemie. We are about leaving. Please watch the replay on YouTube channel. It will be up as soon as we are done now. We're about to call it an evening. Our next webinar is going to be in 2 weeks' time. We are still asking on our platform, even on YouTube, any of our platform, we are voting for topics. So if you know a topic you feel that you would want us to discuss, we will discuss it. Many of our parents are suggesting our topics. Our topics are usually suggested either by people calling us or group members suggesting what is pressing to them. A lot of our group members are people who feel that they are not getting the right help they need. So on our Telegram group, we talk about what we discuss. If you think there is an issue around nutrition, around mental health, around autism that you would want us to talk about, we will discuss it. But this we are not having this week, this coming week. Like I said before, we will be having it in 2 weeks. So in 2 weeks' time, we are going to discuss a topic, and hopefully I will have someone speaking to my audience. Thank you so very much. I still appreciate your time and your contributions. Thank you, everyone. Faith, Izzy, Ewemie, Esther, everyone that joined me. I thank you. Tera Mikont or Jonitwa, Pomegranate and Honey Roses, Lady Linda Gio, I thank you. Agbola Vivian, Jolavidia, thank you so much. Thank you for joining me. I look forward to seeing you. Didi Obot, thank you. I really look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks. Please watch the video replay on our YouTube channel, and please keep healthy. Keep healthy. There is nothing wasteful when it comes to being healthy. And being healthy must not be expensive. It must not be like having to buy very expensive or import food. You can be healthy by just looking around yourself, going back to your roots, practicing all those things that we somehow are losing. Let's not lose them. Bathe your children with Epsom salt once in a while. Cook bone broth and put in your food. Soak vegetables when you crush when you crush what's the name again, cabbage. Crush it, put in water and keep in your kitchen 2 weeks. It is probiotics. Probiotics can do wonders to your body. Do these little things. Cook bone broth like cow leg, use bone. Like in my kitchen now, the head of catfish, yeah, instead of throwing them away, you can just be putting them together. When they are plenty, pour it in a big pot, pour some water, put some carrot, put some celery, cook it for 2 hours. You have your bone broth. There's nothing as rich as these things. You have your bone broth. You don't even need to go and buy it. Just be keeping them together instead of using the bone to kill children in the soup. You bring out the bones, pack them in a ziploc. I think some of these things I should be bringing them when I'm live. Pack them in a ziploc and be packing it when they are plenty. Head of catfish. I mean, when you want to put dry fish in your soup, bring out the head, bring out all the bone part of it. Pack them together when they are plenty. You just pour them in the pot, cook it, and that is a bone broth. You can be using the water to warm your soup, to steam your rice, do things that you can drink them. Just warm it in a cup and drink. It restores your gut health and keeps you generally healthy. Thank you so much. It seems I'm just waiting for an hour. It's almost an hour. It's just a minute now. And then it's been a wonderful time with you. I really appreciate you. Freddy Rabo, thank you for joining. We are almost leaving. I appreciate everyone who joined me. Please watch the video on our YouTube channel. Have a very wonderful evening. See you in 2 weeks' time. Meanwhile, I'll be very happy to attend to your questions anytime, any day. Thank you once again. Bye bye.